when you look at staffing issues in the industry, it's not actually the employees most of the time. It's actually the workplace. And I can say that with confidence because if you look at majority of the people that go out in this industry to start their own business, if they've worked for someone else, they say, I had a crap boss. It was so toxic. They didn't value me. The culture you build and the way you treat people is a huge thing. Hello and welcome back to another episode on the Beauty Industry Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Sammy Kennedy. Today, I'm joined by someone who is raising the standard of leadership in beauty salons and clinics. If you've ever struggled with managing a team, setting clear expectations, or getting your staff to take ownership of their roles, this episode is for you. My guest is Elli Rose, the founder of Beauty Business Society, a consulting agency dedicated to helping salon and clinic owners build high-performing teams, streamline operations, and scale sustainably. With over 15 years in the beauty industry, 5 of those as a salon manager, Elli knows firsthand the challenges of leading a team, balancing the client experience with business growth, and shifting from being burnt out operator to a confident CEO. She's been in the trenches, managing teams, navigating difficult staff situations, and overcoming the overwhelm that so many beauty business owners face. Now she's teaching salon owners how to step up as leaders, create a strong culture, and run profitable business without micromanaging every little thing. If you want to know how to transform your team, improve retention, and finally feel like your business is running smoothly instead of feeling like a daily firefight, keep listening and let's get into it. Welcome to the show, Elli. How are you feeling today?
Wow, if that wasn't a write-up, I don't know what is. Thank you so much. I'm feeling very humbled.
I feel like I'm getting your customer service voice right now.
Oh, yeah, actually, maybe you are. That's all right. It'll come, the normal one will come out soon. 100%.
I love it. For anyone who has been listening to this podcast ongoing, you've probably heard me talk about my client Elli a fair bit. This is Elli. This is the one that I've been talking about. She is so incredible, and I feel like we've always joked about it. I'm unofficially her business partner and probably her mine as well. Like, it's been really fun being able to help her build her business. But for anyone who doesn't know you and knowing now that you've been in the beauty industry for 15 years, let's go back to the beginning. What drew you into this industry in the first place?
I think that when I was younger, coming straight out of high school, there was a few things. And I do remember sitting down with my mum and she's like, all right, what do you want to do, Elli Rose? What's it look like? And beauty just stood out to me because I really did enjoy making people feel wonderful. And then obviously we looked at colleges and we made our way into Ali Lucas, which is by far the most profound beauty college in Australia. And Alex took us through the college and it was just absolutely incredible. So without a doubt, we said, yes, I'm going to Elli Lucas. And I started learning all about all the different areas of the beauty industry. And I remember at the start thinking that I wanted to do makeup, really thinking I wanted to do makeup. But as I continued to evolve throughout the years of my diploma, that I wanted to know all the different areas of beauty. And it went from there.
So did something grab your interest more than other things?
At the time, I'm going to say no, I just wanted to learn as much as I could in all the different areas. But as I got out into the industry, I went straight into a salon, as you do. At that time, I mean, we're going back 15 years ago, so there was no laser machines quite yet. And then I took up an offer to work in a day spa, which was really wonderful as well. And I loved that for a period of time. And then when laser did come out, I absolutely loved laser. I loved the results that laser could give. And that's probably the industry that I stuck in for the longest. Yeah.
Really interesting. Obviously, you're now doing leadership consulting, which is a massive jump from offering beauty services. At what stage did you make that transition from working in clinics and salons and day spas to then moving into more of a leadership or management style role?
Yes. So I'd gone to the country. I was living in the country and I was working in a country clinic or salon. And I decided that my career wasn't going to go in the direction that I wanted it to. So we moved back to Melbourne and I applied for management positions. I say management because that's definitely what it was at the time. And I got the job of managing quite a big clinic in a very fast foot traffic place. And that was the first time I went into management. And then from there, I went to a few other places, went into area management. And then I remember my oldest and dearest friend who owns a salon saying, "Hey girlfriend, like I know that you know all of these things that I have no concept of. You need to come in and help me." And I said, "Okay, well, without a doubt, like let's just sit down and I'll give you all the resources I've got and I built over the years." And she just looked at me and she was like, "I know so many business owners that need this. Like so many business owners, like we go into college, we learn, we come out, we have jobs, we pick up different things here and there, but no one actually teaches you the ins and outs of business and, you know, how to lead teams effectively and how to hire people and what things to look at and, you know, your protocols, your policies, your procedures. Unless you're in a big corporation, these smaller clinics don't know it. You've got to help people." And I kind of looked at her, I was like, "What? No." And she was like, "No, girl, like you need to do this." And then before you know it, I had multiple clients within such a short period of time, hence why I needed you, girlfriend, to help me. And that's kind of how it happened.
This is a crazy transition. Obviously, you have so many tools and resources at your disposal now that you can use yourself. You can teach other business owners how to use and leverage in their salons. Where did you really learn the leadership and management skills? Did you learn them on your feet just from doing? Did you have someone who was training you or mentoring you? Did you go and take some kind of courses? Because for a lot of people out there, like you're saying, they don't get that type of support. And when I look at clients I've worked with, especially in those smaller size teams, like under 5, usually it's reactively hired. They've got fully booked, added another team member in, they're booked out, added another team member, and everyone's just showing up for work, going home and just hoping that everything runs smoothly, you know. What have you learned and where did you learn it as a manager or leader?
So when I first went into the laser clinic, I had the most incredible manager. Or leader, let's call her a leader because she was so far from a manager. She was not a dictatorship. She led by example. She coached, she trained. And her name was Kira Lee. And if you're in the industry, you'll know, especially if you're in Melbourne, you'll know her. She's incredible. And she was my biggest inspiration. I was like, I want to be as good as she is because the way she introduced things was so supportive and so hands-on, and she genuinely gave me the tools. Then when I went into my first management role, that was a real eye-opener for me because I remember sitting with the business owners and they're pretty much like, "Here's your roles. This is your responsibilities. These are the targets. These are what the girls have to achieve. If they don't, we'll put them on a performance plan. And if they don't reach that, we'll do the out processing type situation." I remember going home thinking, I cannot do that. Like these girls are 18 years old. The 19-year-old, they're fresh out of college, right? Like how can you expect a 22-year-old or 19, 18-year-old to make $24,000 in a month and not even try and give them the skill set? Like these girls don't know, have not even yet to meet all the different people from different walks of life. So I kind of went back and I remember Googling what's a good manager. And this is obviously, this is before, you know, we have podcasts and stuff. And Simon Sinek pops up, Leaders versus Managers. And I've watched this YouTube and I was like, holy heck, like I'm literally sitting in a management role with a dictatorship And that's not me. Like, I can't do that. There's no chance. And he just spoke about how, leaders quite often go into their position and they're more concerned about their status and who they are, and they forget what their real job is. And that's not being in charge of people, but more or less taking charge of the people in our care. And I was like, right, I know what I got to do. And I mapped out, which is what I now implement with all my businesses, a strategy form that essentially we knew what target we had to hit. We broke it down, but we broke it down even further into strategies and how we were going to action them, measure them, and what I would be able to do to help them get there. So these young girls no longer felt so overwhelmed with like, okay, well, I just better sell a 6-pack of this and a 12-pack of that. And, I'll just tell them it's really good here, and they'll just buy this like pack of skincare, and like not actually go through the correct skill sets to make a really good, informative sale, I suppose you could say.
Absolutely. Just recently interviewing Rachel from Love Beauty, she was absolutely incredible. And when I asked her about what's one of the best investments she's made in her business, ultimately it came down to her investment in team. And as a leader, it's your role or responsibility to build your team up, to make them feel supported so that they can reach their goals, so that they can evolve. And a conversation I was having with a client earlier was actually, if you're an incredible leader, if one of your students ever went to go and open their own business up, because look, it does happen, like we can't deny that.
Yep.
And they are successful, that's actually a direct reflection of how well you've trained them. And I feel like people don't think of it that way. They always go, oh, they've stolen this or this has happened. But it's actually like, no, you've actually empowered someone on their journey to work with you. You've built them up, and they've been able to be a reflection of how successful your training and leadership is. Do you think many of your clinic owners ever have that mindset, or do they kind of go the other way?
Definitely one, because when I went into my second management role, they had actually invested in a mentor with me. And I got to spend, I think maybe like 6 months with this mentor. He was incredible. And I know for sure, like her as a business owner is like, would want nothing but success. But this business mentor sent us off to this training, and it was DISC training and personality training, I should say. And in that training, that was just another example of us layering all of the different things that we learn from, different businesses, or how we can implement it in our businesses. And that's what they offered to me. So definitely you can't look at it from the perspective of, gosh, they've taken it and run with it. Like,
it's quite interesting, because I've had a couple people I know in the industry, they've been burnt, and one of the things that they've now started doing is saying you have to pay for your own training. And I can see it from both ways. Yeah, so you've kind of almost got to put some prerequisites around it. And like, to completely take it out of beauty, Nick, he's FIFO, he's a Sparky. He's pretty much doing a new training course every fortnight because you need so many tickets. And I can completely understand as well from that perspective, if we were to take it out of beauty, you wouldn't want someone to do all these courses that cost, $1 to $5K each and then just run with it. So there kind of needs to be an incentive for them to either reach a goal and earn it to be able to do the training, I think.
And I think that kind of is a full circle of the culture in your clinic as well. Like, you want to build a culture where your staff really are invested in the business. And when you show your investment in them, they're going to want to give back to the business.
I love that. It's really interesting, because when you look at staffing issues in the industry, it's not actually the employees most of the time. It's actually the workplace. And I can say that with confidence, because if you look at majority of the people that go out in this industry to start their own business, if they've worked for someone else, even people that have come onto this podcast, they say, I had a crap boss. It was so toxic. They didn't value me. And like, money is one thing for sure, but also the culture you build and the way you treat people is a huge thing. And this is why, if you've got employees who are rocking up, scared to bring issues up with you, they kind of resent work, like, that kind of feeds into the energy of everyone else. And this is where you see these salons who struggle to retain employees. But then on the flip side, the people who are investing in their employees, who are giving them great leadership and also supporting them outside of work.
Yeah.
That's when you see the 10 years, like they've stayed loyal.
The businesses that I've worked with that are most successful are the ones that their culture is like 10 out of 10, 100%, because that not only does obviously the business owner want to succeed, but the business owner wants to succeed so that she can put back into her staff. And these staff members know it through and through and through. And one of the clinics that I work with, every single one of our staff, once we implemented a target and incentive system and, genuinely sat down and said, like, what do you want? Like, what can I give to you that's going to drive you to go that extra mile? And I mean, her staff already were just, everything that they did at 100%, but that extra drive. And I think like in the 12 months that I worked with them, one of the girls only missed it 1 month, and it was because she was on vacation. So like really, that was 2 out of the 4 weeks that she wasn't there, and she probably wasn't far off it, to be honest, but the culture in the clinic had the staff genuinely wanting the same winnings that the business owner wanted. And they could
Let's talk culture.
Mm-hmm.
Like obviously people hear that word thrown around. What does a great culture look like versus a crap culture?
Well, I suppose if we start with a crap culture, it's the bickering between the girls, which again stems from management and, not outlining clear roles and responsibilities. Good culture in a clinic is being aligned with the same values. And one of the things that I work with in my businesses straight off the bat is we do a Align and Achieve workshop where we actually sit down and we build out the pillars of the business. So what holds the business up? I think if your team don't understand what holds the business up and all hold the same values, they're never going to be on the same page. And they're never going to be trying to work towards the same goals because they're just either coming in, doing their job. They're not even attending or rocking up to work looking the part. And then obviously if some are really passionate and really want the best and others don't, of course the culture is going to be broken in the clinic.
So really the business needs to provide a greater purpose for everyone to work towards together.
100%. Nobody goes to work these days anymore and just goes to work. Nobody wants that anymore. People actually want a purpose, or where is work going to take me? How is work going to influence my life? What can I get out of it? Where can I grow? Like, I don't think there is a single person that just goes to work anymore and doesn't have an expectation that the business is going to add more value to them other than the paycheck that they provide them. And especially in our industry, as young women coming into it, there is so many opportunities. And again, if you're not focusing on a good culture in your clinic, they'll look sideways for sure. They're going to be like, oh, what do they do over there? And what do they do over there? Because like, here's not really fun at all. Like we just come to work and do what we do.
Definitely. Do you find that with some of the clinics you work with, there's no kind of management systems or strategies in place with the managers? Or do you find that majority of these managers that you're working with, they've got everything sorted?
Nah. So I feel like a lot of business owners, small business owners, the process in which it happens is they come out of college, they work for someone, they do really well, they might do clients from home. They then go, well, gosh, like I've got all these clients now. I'm going to open up a clinic or a salon. They open it up. All right, I'm going to need someone. So they just look and hire. And then before you know it, they've got 5 employees, and they're either going to go 2 ways. They're just going to tell someone, look, you've been here the longest. Let's put you in charge. You can do the stock control, or you can do this, or you can do that, and take the pressure off me. I'll come in and do my clients. Or they just try and manage the whole thing on their own. And they really don't know where to start, because it goes back to college doesn't teach us the business side of things. Like we know that we've got to have money coming in and, open and close a till and make sure we pay for those things. And your accounting people know their parts, but there is no system that any of these business owners have. They don't even know where to start or what to do.
What's the real pain point or problem with not knowing this and continuing to blindly run your business without it?
you're trying to do everything and you're exhausted and you are frustrated and your expectations of staff end up leaving you going, oh, what are you actually doing? You've got to implement roles and responsibilities and actually, align them to specific team members. And you've got to have, one-on-ones with you've got to have one-on-ones with your staff at least twice a month. You don't have to go for an hour, but actually having, accountability with your staff and check-ins with your staff. But if you don't have it, they're running around like headless chooks, these business owners.
For the stressed out clinic or salon owner who is probably going, I have to keep my books full for all my staff. I've got to pay wages. They're probably in a scarcity mindset. For some of them, they might sit there and go, I don't have time to sit and do a one-on-one and pay for them when they're not making money for me. What would you say to that? And how could this actually have a complete mindset shift for them?
Okay. Yeah. If you've got staff, you have to invest your time into them straight off the bat. And once you start investing your time in them and I think a lot of people think, oh, if I sit down and have a one-on-one for half an hour with my staff, like it's just a chit chat, like, how you going? How's work going? How you feeling about this? Oh yeah, you want some training. That is not how an effective one-on-one should be going down.
Okay. So how do we have the effective one-on-one?
You need to outline, and again, it kind of, if you're a business owner and you're looking at introducing, effective one-on-ones, you've got to start off with like essentially a workshop with the team to make sure they're all on the same pathway. They've all got the same values. They've all got the same goals for the year. Once they've outlined what we need to do to be able to have a really strong business, then we're going to implement targets. And I say this to so many business owners, do not be scared of targets, because targets are not there to determine whether or not your staff are good at their job or they're not good at their job. Obviously, they're amazing at their job. You've hired them for a reason, but it's there so that if we reach a specific target, we can give back to you or incentivize you. So then you work out what your staff really want. So when you go into your one-on-ones, it looks like, having their target outlined for the month down to their weekly and to their daily. It looks like, what are we focusing on this month based off of what's booked in? And then the most important part about having that one-on-one is talking about what strategies we're going to implement that we can action and that are measurable so that we can get the outcome that we want. And it's not sitting there saying, so what are you going to do to make 24,000, 25,000 this month?
Or blaming them for not making the 24,000 last month and telling them they need to pick up the slack.
How? This is the biggest thing. You've got to actually talk to them about or give them the skill set on how they can achieve it. And a lot of girls will be like, all right, at the start, they'll be like, okay, well, my strategy this month is to convert my clients from, just the fluffy facial to the clinical facial. And I go, okay, that's not the strategy. That's the goal. So how are we going to do that? What actions are we going to put in place to actually get us from A to B? And a good leader won't sit there and just tell them they need to do it. They'll actually work through how they're going to do it, and always ask your team, what can I do to help you? Because your job as a leader is to coach and lead by example, assist them with strategies, let's just say, and then offer how you're going to ask them how you're going to help them. Do I need to do more marketing for you? Do you want me to put that out on socials for you more? Do you want me to support you in the salon, clinic? That is essentially how a good one-on-one should go. And if you're not investing that time and having those conversations, don't own a business. Because what if you're not looking after your team and you don't see the point in it, then go work for yourself again.
Yeah. And I think this is where you actually do see some people go, I want the big team, I want the big salon. Mm-hmm. They get to that stage and they just realize, I'm actually working so much more. This is a lot more pressure, and they aren't necessarily the personality type to manage leading a team, and they prefer working for themselves. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think the problem is when you choose to take the responsibility of having a team and then you're not doing the work to be able to lead that team. And that's the thing. Business is actually a massive personal responsibility. And I don't think enough people actually consider this when they start out. And then when they look to scale, it usually starts off as, I want to try this. I'm going to open up this business. You're a sole trader. You make X amount of money. You take on some team. Now you're moving to a company, and the responsibilities really shift from that sole trader to the company. And if you've got the sole trader mindset and you're not doing levels of personal development, you're not learning new skills, business is a separate skill to beauty.
100%. And if you can't be that leader, then that goes back to hiring a leader.
So let's talk about hiring a leader versus trying to become the leader yourself. Obviously, it may not be financially viable for someone in that startup stage to hire a leader, or maybe it might actually be the risk they need to take to scale fast. How do you know it's worth me as the business owner learning the leadership skills and becoming the leader and taking on that management role versus I'm going to actually outsource this and hire a manager?
I think it comes down to what your end goal is as a business owner. If you want to be a business owner that can step out of your business and start to work on your business, not always in your business, then you definitely need to hire a leader. If you love being in your business and you can't let go of the control, you're going to have maybe a business major managing the other side of things. You cannot be both, because we know that leading people is a huge job. They're like your children.
What size team do you kind of go from like, I can manage this myself, to now I need to look at taking someone on? Like, is it relevant to have a manager if it's the owner and one staff member, the owner and 3 staff members? Do you know what I mean? Like, for anyone listening here, they're probably like, oh, do I need a manager? Nah, it's not relevant to me. Like, what are the stepping stones?
I think if you've got 5 or more staff, it's a good idea. But remember, your team leader isn't just sitting there having one-on-ones. Your team leader has a whole list of roles and responsibilities. And when you actually look at those roles and responsibilities and can offload some of the things that you do to that team leader. So the way that I would always have my clinics, or the clinics that would always run the best, the team leader was actually the front of house person. There was 2. There was kind of like an admin gal, and then you had like your team leader gal. And the reason the team leader, unless they were, doing specific work that they would step out the back for, it was always good that they were at the front, because they could, oversee the team in a sense that they're not micromanaging, but they were able to assist them with potentially a sale. Or I know I used to say to my girls every morning, we would strategize for our clients for the day. And, every Friday I would strategize for them. Like, I would map out what their day looked like for them and how they were going to achieve it and whatnot. Have coffee ready for them. They loved it. And I would say to the girls, how are we feeling about today? Is there any clients that you girls might need some help with? And they would say, well, actually, this one client, I can never get her over the line. I've been trying to get her to buy the vitamin A, let's just say. And, it was little things like me seeing them out the front and going, oh, Sharon, if you have not got that vitamin A, you need it now. And that additional person, or if you want to say someone who from an outside perspective looked as though they ranked higher, they'd been there longer, had their point in the conversation, it might have been the difference between a sale occurring or not occurring. So you were there to support your team out the front. You were there to help assist, put things through the till, streamline their day for them and support them the best way you possibly could. So leaders don't just sit there. You're definitely not paying someone to sit there and do nothing. It's you outlining really good roles and responsibilities for your team leader and having that accountability to look after the team and check in with you as a business owner.
100%. When you look at great team leaders in these clinics and salons, what type of attributes do they have?
They're empathetic. They are direct and straightforward. They're really the 50-50 between those 2 things. They've got the ability to be quite direct and say it as it is and how it is and let's do this, but empathetic. And I don't know, the biggest thing for me is something I think that never left me was that feeling of being the beauty therapist. And like I said, that first manager that I had, or team leader that I had, I was never, ever afraid to come to her about anything. Whether it be like I didn't understand this product or how it actually, worked on the skin. And maybe we learnt it 3 months ago and I just hadn't retained it, and I wasn't selling it because I hadn't retained it, a quick go-to how to explain it to the client. I was never, ever afraid to approach her. So I think probably, being able to be empathetic, but also being able to be direct and have an authority that allowed you to hold them accountable with respect.
I love that. I think that's really powerful. And on top of that as well, you can't be those things if you don't have good communication skills.
Or you're able to
everything.
Yeah, or you're just able to, like, you as a leader, you come last. They always come first. You're always putting everything that they need before yourself, and not, I've got to get this done, or I need to do this, or I need to do that. It's stopping, because they are essentially the cogs of the business. You have to support them, and everything for you comes second. Putting your staff first. Like, I would always say these girls are like my babies. Until I had a baby, and then I was like, I can't manage all of these girls and have a baby, like they're calling in sick. They're, they need this day off. They need that. It is a huge job as a leader, but if you've got a good relationship and a good culture and you as a leader are strong, it's a really rewarding job. My favorite job in the industry.
I think there's some incredible books out there that really open my mind up to leadership and understanding that it's not about being perfect. It's about being authentic and being a good role model. And so that means owning your mistakes. That means being really honest to other people. That means taking the first step. Even though it's scary and uncomfortable, you have to lead the way. And most importantly, as we all know, it's actually taking that radical self-responsibility for every single thing you do. And so if you can't take ownership, it's really hard for you to expect other people to trust you or to want to learn from you. Something that I found really interesting that changed my thought pattern of like how I respond as a leader in business was I had this staff member and she overcharged a customer $500. And I think I've spoken about this on the podcast before, but it was like that initial like, WTF have you done? Like, you just kind of like, how did you do that? That's such a bad mistake. And then you kind of like keep that brave face and you just take a moment to breathe and go, okay, this is normal to be feeling these things, like, but I can't take it out on her. Why did she go to the till? Why did she do that? Was someone else not there? And like, how could have I trained her so that if she were in that position where no one else was at the till and she wanted to help out, she knew how to do things properly. And so if you're a salon owner and you're listening to this right now, this is a real thing that you'll start to feel when, and I can speak to this because I wasn't always perfect when I was an employee. I might have accidentally left the dye on too long when I did some brows. And then it's just like, you could rage at them like, what? I left the process for you. But it's like, you
We're
can't
only
blame
human.
them. Yeah, you got to
only human.
Take that moment. And even as a leader, if you make a big mistake, like maybe you sent the wrong email to someone or maybe you didn't put the pays through. Actually, this is a common one I've actually heard, like when people have so much going on in their personal life or something, they forgot to put pay through and then they're getting like 5 text messages from everyone and they're having a mental breakdown. It's just like, it's okay. Take ownership. Apologize and ask yourself, like, what can I learn from this experience so I can improve in the future?
Yes. That is also
So Elli, when we look at successful leadership and teams collaborating to well, really driving the performance and having that positive culture, what is the team leader doing on a daily basis, a weekly basis and a monthly basis? Because I know this is something that you really work towards teaching and implementing with the clinics you work with.
So from a culture perspective or from their roles and responsibilities?
Let's actually go from roles and responsibilities.
Daily, I think for a good team leader is leading by example first off the bat. So you show up to work, and if you would not expect anything less from your staff member, that is not for you. If that's the way you look, hair's back, full face of makeup, you have to meet that criteria. It is roles and responsibilities. It is holding every day, making sure that the staff are strategizing or assisting them where they can. It's checking in with your team every day. Like, can I help you with anything? It's almost even outlining what your day looks like to your team. Because quite often I think a lot of the staff are like, oh, well, what is she doing today? Like, what are you actually doing? It's good for them to know that you have to look at all the tracking reports, that you have to send off emails to the business owner, that you might be doing the stock take or ordering stock, or, you know, whatever it is, actually showing them what you're doing for the day. I think weekly, one of the things that I love all my team leads to do is to send their business owner a weekly tracking report, which is something that I have for my team leaders. Not every business owner is going to sit there and go through all of that data. But I think as a team leader, and your responsibility comes into the financial side of things, it's actually tracking it on a weekly, not only so that you can assist the staff who might be falling behind, or you're noticing that they're rebooking retention or whatever it might be, you're all over it, but your business owner also knows that you are, or can chime in whenever they need to. And weekly then, one-on-ones at the start of the month and then at the middle of the month, actually, you know, having a conversation with your team and setting them up for success for the month. And then I do 15-minute check-ins middle of the month to see where we're sitting at. And all the other little bits and bobs, I suppose, that you do as a team leader, but they're probably the key ones, assisting your team.
And then what do you get the therapist to do on a day-to-day basis?
Only responsibility in the morning is to arrive on time, strategize for their day. So actually sit down and look at every single client that they've got booked in for the day, and not just look at what you've got booked in for the day, actually look at their notes, actually look at their, you know, sales history, look at what seeds you might have planted, look at, you know, their any concerns that they might have had, where you can leverage off making their treatment go from A to B type situation. And I always have morning huddles every morning with the team. I think that's so important. And they're not just figure based. They are talking about whether it be a change in season, you know, and a skin scenario. It might be a new product that might be in. It might be a celebration, like just having a coffee and catch up with the girls coming together. It might be, you know, it might be a financial check-in. It might be promo briefing, or there's so many different things that you can discuss that aren't just from a financial perspective, and create that solid culture. I would even have some of my girls hold the morning huddles, because it held them responsible also for being on time. And if I respect your time, you respect my time, as we do for the whole team.
Morning huddles are a game changer for just knowing what's coming up.
And you don't have to spend a whole hour staff meeting talking about the crappy little things like, oh, you know, make sure you take the bins out on time, or make sure you got stock this. It's like checking in every day. Hey girls, is the stock running low on here? No, it's all good. You know, all of those little things you can check in and tick off. So when you've actually come to a staff meeting, sure, there might still be things that you've got to address, but you've got the ability to actually either use it for education or training. And then a small part of it might be housekeeping kind of stuff. But the morning huddles keeps everyone together on a daily.
Something I've found really valuable when it comes to either bowling or working with my OBM and VA is actually sitting down and asking the question, what have you done really well this week? Like, what are you proud of? What can we celebrate about you? And like, what were you challenged with? And then most of the time, if there's something that they're actually struggling with and you give them the opportunity to open up about it, they will. And I think when I started the conversations off with what are the wins and then what do we need to work towards, it kind of eliminates you from going, you didn't clean the kitchen up and I had to spend another hour on top of closing time to get through all this crap. Like, instead of just coming in with this like frustrated mindset of how much additional pressure them not doing their job properly has created on you, you can instead create that positive culture that we were talking about, where they feel more supported. And it's like when you read any kind of psychology books about how humans work better when they're rewarded, like you've got to reward the behavior that you want to see more of. And so how often are you checking in with your team and rewarding that behavior? And I think that kind of leads me into my next thing about on top of morning huddles and having your one-on-ones and the team meetings, how are we building the culture outside of clinic hours? And what is the benefit to doing team building activities?
It's knowing one another on a personal level. So you have a level of respect for them that is beyond a work colleague, and actually getting to know their personality so you can better work with them. So if you just go to work, like a lot of corporate jobs, they rock up, they do their job, they go home, you know nothing about them, they're grumpy or whatever. When you actually get outside of work and have a really good conversation with them and their life, and where you might have always thought, and this was something I learned in one of the workshops or programs that I went through, there was this team member that I used to work with, and without a doubt, every day she would come in right on 9 o'clock. Hair was a mess, like trying to fix her hair up out the back, she wasn't a morning person at all. And I was like, you cannot lead a team if you cannot even be here on time. Like, again, expectations, meeting, And anyway, you have people that might be like that. And then you get to know them outside of work, and they're a mum of 4. I mean, I don't know how you don't know this if you work together every day, but anyway. And it's like, well, actually she's getting 4 kids out of the house and has to be here by 9 o'clock. Like, it's not give her some grace, but it's like, now I understand why you're like this in the morning. And more or less, rather than being shitty at them for not being there, it can be like, hey, do you want me to get things organized for you in the morning? And having that relationship, the best clinics that I work with, they're like sisters. So they'll bicker like sisters and they'll care like sisters. They'll actually genuinely love one another and know when things aren't good and pick up the slack. That's the best kind of culture I think you should have in a clinic, where you all care about one another, even if your personalities don't always come together. And outside of work, doing those outside of work activities allows you to know them from an outside of work perspective.
It really sounds like it gives people an opportunity to not see them through the lens of employee and get to know their true personality, like you're saying. But on top of that, probably have a bit more empathy.
Yeah, that was something I sucked in when I was younger. I'm not going to lie. If we're talking about where we've grown and where we've come from, that was something I really had to learn. Because once I stepped into that role, it was no longer like I had to genuinely care and empathize with every single one of those girls who had all different kinds of personalities that I didn't always understand. And once I got trained, like I had training on personalities and how to better understand them, it completely changed the way I could work with each and every single team member to get the best out of them and put the best into them, because everyone's so different.
Oh, definitely. It's so interesting because there are so many conflicting personalities. You've got extroverts and introverts. Then you've got people who they're really high maintenance, need a lot of validation. They probably got anxious attachment style. And then you've got other people who are quite independent and autonomous, and learning how to hold space for all of those people at the same time. I can only imagine it feels like trying to ride a tricycle. What are they called? Ride a unicycle while like juggling, and you're just like, please don't fall, please don't fall.
It's one of the things that I do in my Line and Achieve workshop is a little bit of personality training. And it's such a powerful tool, because once you understand the personality that's walking in the door or that you're working with, like to sell to someone who is quite analytical and needs to know the ins and outs of everything, if you're just a direct person and you're trying to sell that to, an analytical person, you're in a place where they're never going to buy from you, because as far as they're concerned, you've just told me the surface. Like, I want to know what the product is, how it enters the skin, why it's beneficial, how long is it going to last me? Learning those personality traits are not only helpful to create a strong culture in your clinic, but to even sell to clients and converse with them the best way they are possibly going to understand.
What makes me laugh is like when you look at females, there's usually these stereotypes around them loving star signs. If you're someone who doesn't take time to learn personalities and how to work with different personalities, but you're spending hours looking at star signs, trust me, just switch out the star signs for personality types and you'll start to realize, why is it sometimes when I walk into a room, there is this immediate like friction. Like I just know they're bad juju. And then there's other times where I just see someone instantly feel drawn, really genuine energy about them. And it comes down to your intuition and being able to read people. The power of that, I'm sure you can agree, Elli, is if you can tap into that, you'll know when someone's lying to you.
Yeah.
You'll know when something's up, even if they haven't said it. You'll know if they might be like looking and applying for jobs elsewhere because you're able to catch it because you know how to read people. Like even us as coaches, consultants, like it's really funny in my early stages of coaching. I was like so nervous to tell people, you know, that they're wrong or, you know, maybe they're the problem. Because, you know, you're people pleaser and like you're paying me money and I don't want to like step on toes. Like, and that's kind of natural until you start to build, you know, your credibility, your authority and you're, you know, okay with saying that. But I had this one chick and she was like, the lead gen's not working. I'm not getting any clients. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, how's it not working? Like, literally everyone that's doing this program has got clients and is fully booked and you're the only person that hasn't. Like, how is this not working? And then you kind of go, okay, well, can you show me proof of what you posted and I'll give you some feedback? And it's like, oh, well, I haven't had time to post it. And I'm like,
so you're not able.
Well,
yeah,
you're lying to me. And so, you know, if I would have earlier on had the skills to be able to pick up on that, I'd be like, you know, is it that it's not working or it hasn't been done yet? And just being able to be direct. I can still be empathetic. Like if you've got things going on, like I get that, but also like don't lie to me.
Yes. When I talk to the girls about this skill and how important it is, right from the minute that someone walks into the salon or the clinic, you'll know instantly how you're going to respond to them and how they're going to like it and how they're not. And I know we're totally going off topic here when we're talking about personalities and whatnot, but one of the things the lessons that I learned when I was younger, I think I was about 24, was when I had a client. Now I had now moved to the country and I had this client and we were, I don't know, I was waxing her or something like that. And, you know, I'm talking to her like me and I'm just being me and I'm being fun and playful and, you know, having a good conversation and it's flowing. And I was like, oh my gosh, woman, like you need to get this done. And I thought it was a great conversation. I thought for sure she's going to book back with me. And then my boss at the time was like, yeah, so I got some feedback for you. And I was like, sorry? She's like, that client. And I was like, what do you mean that client? Like we had the best time in there. And she was like, well, she didn't like the way you spoke to her. I was like, what do you mean the way I spoke to her? Like we were having fun. We're conversing, da, da, da. She's like, yeah, well, you called her a woman. And I was like, I called her woman. She's like, yeah, she didn't like it. And I was like, and this kind of ties in with the conversation of like the different demographics that you work with as well. But I was like, but mate, it was tongue in cheek. Like I was just having a good chat with her. Like she was throwing back and forth and she's like, yeah, well, she didn't like it. And I was so hurt. Like I was like, oh my gosh, it's me. It's my personality. Like, you know, I'm not good with people, you know, all of those things. And then when I finally learned about personalities, it was never about me. It was the fact that she was a complete different personality type to me. So I had to shift the way I had a conversation with her because that was definitely not the way that she would have ever liked. Like the same conversation, I could have had the exact same conversation with her, but use different terminology or different words and she would have loved it. She would have absolutely loved it.
It's really interesting you say that. When I did my NLP training, we talk about building a rapport. And so in order for you to build a rapport, you're matching and mirroring their body language, their tone, how fast they're talking. And so if I'm talking really loud and really fast at you and you're talking really calm and quietly, like we're breaking rapport. And that's one thing that when I go through having a 90% plus client retention rate is actually the number one skill before you learn any of the sales things.
Yes.
It's just learning how to communicate and build a rapport. Because if you can't build a rapport with people, then it's going to be really hard for people to want to continue talking to you or have that relationship. Like they'll probably put their podcast in and be like, you know, is it over yet?
Yes. And these are all like our beauty industry is full of young girls. They don't know that. Nobody's taught them anything along those lines or showed them how, how to best respond to people and how they, from the minute they walk into the clinic, if they're like, oh, hi, my appointment's at 9:00, you're not going to say, oh, cool, like take a seat over there. You're going to go, oh, wonderful. Elli will see you in 5 minutes time, because they want to know exactly when they're going to be seen to. And you get exactly what I'm saying. Yeah.
It's really interesting. Like when we're at bowling, my mom, dad and I, because usually if we're all there, we're just kind of in there, and then we've got the team as well. You can just tell when someone is going to be a pain. Like you just know within the first 3 seconds, you're like, I'm going to need to like, sage the room and like have a calming tea after this person. Like we get all walks of life, and being able to really diffuse situations is so powerful. So I want to share a story about this, because this is something that might happen. Conflict, clients not happy, and maybe they're getting a bit upset with your team member, you as the manager. So I had this one time where a guy, they come in, they pay for time bowling. So we don't pay for games, we pay for time, pay $70. And then it's an hour on the lane. And this is also another reminder that you never know what's going on in other people's lives. So the lane's broken. I've gone down and I said, yep, I'm so sorry this has happened. Let me go down the back. I'll check it out and try fix it for you. I tried to do the normal troubleshooting, but it was actually something that we'd never seen come up as that kind of issue for the lanes, because the pins had been adjusted. Anyways, I come back up, see my dad, I say, can you please call in the other guy, the technician, to come fix it, or can you please go down? So he's gone down. I'm about to come up to this guy to let him know that we're still fixing it. We haven't forgotten. And he comes up and he goes, this is bullshit. I've paid for an hour and I think we deserve more time because it's not fixed. And he just started yelling at me in front of everyone. And I just sat there. I took it and I just looked at him and said in front of everyone really calmly, I said, I'm trying to help you. And I really want to come to a resolution here. We have someone down the back fixing your lane. However, if you're going to talk and treat me like this, I'm going to need you to step outside and calm down before you're allowed back into the venue. And his face was just like, because he was being crazy and he didn't realize in that moment. And then he tried to justify it to me, say, oh, well, I was waiting 2 hours for a taxi to bring me in here. And I said, that's no worries. I'm sorry that it took 2 hours for the taxi to come.
Yeah.
However, I don't deserve to be spoken to like this and I don't appreciate it. I'm actually trying to help you here and I can't help you unless you're going to be like working with me. So, being able to diffuse situations, not take it personally and kind of empathize and say like, I'm going to work with you here, but you need to calm down. It's really powerful. And I think if we had more of those conversations, or this kind of leads me into my next point, a really long-winded thing that was going on in the back of my mind. It's like, what skills are we teaching managers, leaders, staff, therapists outside of just being in the treatment rooms? And I really strongly advise that if you've got a team, you're getting someone in to do sales training.
Yeah.
Not from the sense of like sleazy car salesman, like everyone thinks, like actually genuinely knowing how to confidently serve clients by serving them.
Yes.
Like giving them the solution to their problem and being able to confidently do that. So maybe it's like tackling some mindset stuff and then also being able to clearly communicate like the value and how it's going to enhance their result or maintain their result that they've been investing in. The other thing is dealing with conflict resolution, whether that's with customers, whether that's in the workplace. They're two skills that I don't think enough people in our industry have, but the best teams, especially the ones that work with Elli, they've developed those and that's why they are so successful.
One of the things that we do go through is how to handle objections.
Yes. Time, money, husband.
Yes, they're the top three that we hear all the time. And you know what? They are never the real reason. They're always just the sugar-coated go-to one. And it also, that then ties back into, holding a really good skin consultation. And it's not about them actually, whether it be under an observe and assessing the skin and recommendations and whatnot. It's the conversation before you even have the skin consult, actually the psychology behind the questions you're asking to be able to confidently pitch whatever it is that client needs to them so that those objections are already cut in half. It all ties in together, doesn't it?
It does. And like, seriously, this is stuff that I don't see many people in our industry actually talking about. And I think this is the stuff that matters more than making reels or pretty content. And that's why like we're both no BS business consultant coaches. And seriously, like when I see someone put up like, this is going to help you retain clients and this is going to make you more money, and it's literally just like editing a photo in Facetune and then making it a pretty reel or something, I'm like, this is actually not the problem. It is the communication skills, the sales skills. It's actually understanding how to be a better leader. And so if you want to level up your salon and if you want to be a successful, fulfilled business owner, it will actually come from learning these skills, not trying to showcase everything looking perfect on Instagram.
Yes. And actually getting in, one of the things that I'm yet to see, so if anyone is doing this, please let me know. But one of the things that I'm really, and this is why I'm so passionate about what I'm doing, is actually getting into these clinics, getting my hands dirty and implementing, because you can sit there and post all the things you're posting, but can the business owner or can the team leader or the person that you're potentially going to put in that position actually implement it and have the skills to implement it? We can read all the things. And I was listening to something not that long ago about, the 80s was first when self-help came in and everyone was all about self-help, self-help, self-help. I've got this course, I'm putting this out, and you can help yourself. We don't need to help ourselves anymore. There comes a point where you obtain all this information, but the implementation of it isn't actually happening. You actually need someone holding the hands of the person and showing them how we can achieve these results. So I definitely am a busy girl, not posting all of these fancy reels. I'm just like in there with these businesses going hard.
What is the actual strategy?
Yes.
And I feel that as well. Like, I kind of like am so inspired by how much you've grown and what you've been able to achieve that it made me reflect on the whole coaching industry and like why I kind of shifted more into the consulting with one-on-ones. Like when I took you on as a client as well, it was, I don't want to sit here and just have conversations to help guide you to think about what you want to do next. Like if I know the damn strategy and I have to be direct and tell you this is what's going to happen, like that's what I'm going to do. And I think that's why the consultancy side is really powerful at finding the expert to implement the strategy with you, rather than just kind of buying another course or joining another coaching program, because a lot of that stuff is self-directed learning. And that's great in the early stages when you've got so much time on your hands. But when you're a busy CEO, you don't have time to watch modules, go back and forth. Like you need someone in there doing it with you.
Quite a few of my business owners that I've got have gone and had other coaches before, but it's always in a group setting and they have never been successful because they're either A, too nervous to bring it up in the group, which like it's up to them how much they take from it and whatnot. But again, comes back to it's all well and good that we're talking about all of these surface issues or, these objections and this and this and this. But if you're not actually in the clinic hands-on with these girls. And like I have 6 clinics, 5 staff in each clinic, and I have a relationship with every single one of these girls, and they are open to message me at any point with anything that they might have, any, pushbacks or how do I approach this or whatever it might be. That's what these business owners are seeking, not another group session. And the time. The actual time, the modules, like business owners are bloody busy, especially if they're working in their clinic as well.
100% agree. So Elli, I'd love to talk about your journey working with me, because I know there's a lot of people who listen to this and they're probably either sitting on the fence or wondering like, what the hell do I do? And sometimes I struggle to articulate it. So I'm going to get you to do it for me. Where were you before we started working together, and like what were some of the biggest challenges you were facing that probably made you choose to invest in one-on-one versus a course or a group coaching program?
So Like I said, my girlfriend and my dearest friend said to me, you need to do this. And I had all these resources and I had everything in my head. I knew how I wanted to approach the clinics and I knew the steps, but I didn't. I didn't actually have a mapped out plan that I could essentially pitch to a business owner, if you want to say. Like, I knew what I could do, but if I actually mapped it out, there was just so much going on in my head. And then, I would sit back down and I'd write all my notes and then I'd be like, okay, that's where I'm at. And then it got to a point and I remember reaching out to a few different coaches and one coach, thankful so much for this gal, said, you need to reach out to this Sammy chick. Like, she's in your industry. She's phenomenal. And I think we sat on a phone call for 2 hours. It probably was so
I remember that actually. We were sitting down, we were like mapping it out. And I'm like, I don't expect anything. I just want to see you like fix this problem.
Yes. And those 2 hours, I thought, holy macaroni, if this girl is giving me this much, like I got off that phone call as if I'd paid $1,000 for the phone call, because really the amount of information that I obtained off those 2 hours was, epic. So I knew you were my girl and I was like, cool, I need to regroup and work out what I needed to do or the financial perspective to be able to invest in you. And so I obtained a few more clients and then you
ghosted me for a month and I kept checking in.
Yeah, it might have been a month. And I was nervous too because I knew that this is the other thing, the minute that you take on a coach, you are now held accountable as a business owner. And there is absolutely no chance that I would have scaled like I scaled in 7 months if it wasn't for working with Sammy, because she made that process so streamlined for me that I was able to genuinely focus on the clients and give them what I needed to give them. If I was trying to focus on my clients and build out the things that Sammy helped me build out, when I say helped me, like got her hands dirty, I would not be where I am today. Like it just wouldn't be like that. And when I say, it's like a business partner in her, there is not a thing that she doesn't know about the business, that even if I'm at a standstill and I'm not quite sure what's happening, like for instance, I am 20 weeks pregnant and I remember thinking, gosh, I've got to tell her I'm pregnant. Like we have been hustling hard and, really working on all of these things and now I'm pregnant. Like I don't want to throw this all in the bin. Like I want to keep working. And I tell her and, oh, this is so exciting, blah, blah, blah. And in between all of that, I'm, as we just do, start stressing like, how am I going to keep this up and blah, blah, blah. I get on a phone call to her a week later and she's like, by the way, I've got your pregnancy plan of attack. And I was like, this is, and I can see in our Google Drive together, like, I think I like popped into it to grab something and it's like pregnancy plan. I was like, this girl is all over everything. Like she is 2 steps ahead of me. And the stresses that I was thinking, she had nutted out already. So my investment in Sammy was by far, when I called her back up, I was like umming and ahhing. And she goes, if you don't know now, now's the time to do it. And I was like, yep, you know what, sister? Take my money. And every single phone call that I get off the phone to with Sammy, every single week, the value in what I put in investing in her every single week is worth every cent plus more. Honestly, there is never a call that I don't get off and feel like I got my money's worth, if not more. That's just the truth. Put that in your reviews, girl.
So sweet. I love it. What have been your biggest highlights or what's been most valuable to you? Because we've obviously built out a few different things. Do you want to share a little bit more about what we've been doing behind the scenes?
So first off the bat, my biggest highlight would have been, I think, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. Because we did achieve so much in such a short period of time, little old me didn't think that it was necessary to be doing much accounting work. I was like, oh yeah, we're doing well. And Sam was like, girl, we got to get on top of your accounting. And I did all my accounting and I did my profit and loss. And I sent her a message and I was like, holy macaroni, look what I have actually done. And I said to her and she was like, this is incredible. I can't believe you've done this. And there's no other person, unless you got other business like-minded friends, which I do, but no other person knows how hard I've hustled than Sammy does. and how much we've worked together to keep achieving these things. I literally had tears in my eyes, and my husband sitting next to me was like, "You're right, babe." And I was like, "You're not going to believe it. Like, I've done so well." That's my biggest highlight, actually reflecting on what I had, all the hard work I'd been putting in to this business and seeing it from a financial perspective, like really, really impressed. That's probably my biggest highlight, because it goes to show all the things we implemented to come back from a financial perspective. What we've been working on, you got another 10 minutes? So, all right, let me think about this. There is so much. Sammy has essentially helped me build out my process with my clients, but really refined that process. So rather than just going, "Oh, yeah, we onboard them, we do this meeting, we do that meeting," like genuinely how we're taking them from A to B and mapping that out. It's things you might not think of. Like when you onboard a customer, sure, you want to ask them where they're at, but actually having, a questionnaire sheet so that we can reflect back on it. And when they potentially move on and they implement the skills, really effectively with their teams and whatnot, offboarding them. It's things like obtaining client testimonials so that we can proof the work that we're actually doing. It is
having a brand kit and not just, using the
Yes, my goodness. When we did the brand kit, that really, really, really was first off the biggest help. And when we say brand kit, I feel like, before I kind of knew what a real brand kit was, I was like, "Oh yeah, my colors, my tones, my fonts, like, yeah, cute," which I was like, fun, but that kind of stuff for me is like, yep, that's great. Now let's get into how we're getting results. That's where I'm really driven. But no, it was more or less actually building out the values of the business, building out, my tone of voice, building out all of the problems and the promises, and actually really working out what my clients needed. And then furthering from that, the consulting package. Holy heck. That document, this is why I say she's my business partner. Because she knows my business just as much as I do, if not more, because she can actually articulate what my business is selling. Like that piece, that document was such a big game changer, because I really honestly at the start didn't even know, which links in with prices, didn't even know what to price people with, because my heart was in such a place of I just want to help people and I want to be able to help everyone that I can, and make sure that it's affordable and whatnot. It was actually finding the value of everything, all the resources that I put together and putting a price on that, because I had no idea even where to start there. I just knew that I had a whole lot of information I wanted to give to people and didn't even know the value of it.
Do you know what baffles me, genuinely blows my mind is, well, number one, that you've done this while working a part-time job. You've literally had 2 days a week and you've built this business to where you have. But then the second part is you can already do most of this stuff for salons, but as soon as it came to doing it for yourself, you were just
I know. Don't ask me why. We all this is just another reminder for business owners. Business owners of beauty salons need me, and then I need someone too. We all need somebody because we can't.
Accountability.
Yeah, for accountability, and for also just we're good at what we're good at. We're not good at everything. You can't be good at everything. So there's always someone else that's going to nail that for you faster and more efficiently.
100%. Well, on the back end of that, something that I think this is the perfect time to actually announce is, after working with you and seeing how incredible you are with the results you've achieved, tell the listeners about how you took the salon from, is it 40K to 104 or something like that?
Yeah. I think it was 60K to 104 in a month.
Yeah.
How did I do that?
Elli is literally the GOAT. When it comes to all things leadership, hiring, systems and processes for team. And that's why I'm really excited to announce she is the first official consultant that I'm contracting in for beauty industry leaders. So in terms of what that means, it might mean every now and again I might have an extra podcast host. It might mean that if you work with me one-on-one and you need help specifically with the team leadership side, Elli will be there.
You go to
my shows her baby.
Yeah. You're going on vacation. I'm birthing a human. Either way, we're coming back together.
Yeah, 100%. Like we've got some events planned out. It's going to be really epic. And I know that for me, it feels like such a right decision because I can't do it all, man. Like this is Beauty Industry Leaders, not the Sammy Kennedy show. And so being able to find different experts that you can come to for help in your clinic, your salon, your coaching, consulting business and know that they are the best at what they do. This is exactly what I'm slowly building. And you know what? It has taken a while to figure this out. Building something that is going to be sustainable in the long term and make a real impact. You've got to find your people. I'm not just finding, some random off the street who's just done this. I've literally seen consistent results and just really loved it. And I wish Elli came on the podcast sooner, but that's my exciting news. So welcome to the team, Elli, officially.
We have got this, girl. I am super excited too. It means I can help more people. And you're right. It is about finding your people. And this industry can either be a really, really beautiful industry or it can be a really, really toxic industry. And I know that the business owners that I work with, we are just and like you are, we're all about supporting one another. Nobody is taking people's clients. Nobody is, it's just about supporting one another and helping one another grow and sharing our knowledge and our expertise. And I'm so excited. This is wonderful.
I love it. It's the best. I want the best of the best. I want to be the best. I want to have the best, whether it's consultants, whether it's clients. It's not about being average. For me, it is holding yourself to a high standard and wanting more out of life, out of business, because why not? You're going to die one day and you don't want to look back and think, oh, I didn't take the risk or I didn't do the thing, because Beauty Industry Leaders, the motto, little subheading under the title is raising industry standards. And I think that is exactly what majority of my podcast guests and clients have all put in one kind of thing, either in their application or they've said on a call. And it's just really hit me that because of what we're creating here, it's attracting the really incredible side of the industry that I didn't get to experience when I was running a beauty salon. I never even thought that there were like-minded people out there who just genuinely wanted to improve themselves, stay in their own lane and want to learn, and they're personal development junkies like me. And so by slowly building this community, it hasn't actually been one where I've grown really fast. And I actually looked on social media the other day and I've seen some accounts or brands that have grown really fast. And I look at their content and it's usually bashing down someone else or creating drama. And, for me, it may not happen as fast as I want, but it's quality over quantity, which I have really appreciated. So if you're listening all the way through to these episodes, you're showing up every week, you're my kind of person. I appreciate you. So as we work towards wrapping up the episode, I'm going to move into a really quick fire round, which is a leadership edition. So this is Elli's no BS advice on leading a team. You ready, Elli?
No BS advice. All right. I don't know if y'all ready though.
What's the biggest mistake salon owners make with their staff?
Not invest the time into them.
Ooh, truth hurts. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
What's the best way to improve salon culture?
Actually take your team out and ask them what they want, where they want to go in the business. What do they want to do? How can you get them there?
Powerful. Love it. What's one thing every salon owner should start doing today?
Start to look at your numbers and metrics. Actually analyze the data in your business so you can determine the next best steps to take your business, whether that be in the staff, whether that be the services, whether that be your profit and loss, your pricing calculator, all things you can get from Sammy. But yeah, actually look at the metrics in your business for sure.
What's the hardest part of leading a team?
Dealing with multiple personalities and just people. It's just people. And that's why you have to be just as human as they are, because they are just human. They're going to be sick. You're going to have to reschedule clients. There's going to be just things in life, and have empathy for all of your staff.
Great advice. And lastly, what's your number one piece of leadership advice?
Ooh, always put your team first. Just leaders always go last. always put your team first and you'll always be the best leader.
Elli, this has been so insightful. You've shared so much value and also some big perspective shifts around what it actually means to be a leader and why you shouldn't focus on being a manager. Where can people connect with you and learn more about the Beauty Business Society, maybe working with you and getting some help in their team strategy?
You can either jump on the website, www.thebeautybusinesssociety.com, or you can go to my Instagram handle, which is just thebeautybusiness.society, and reach out to me. I'm just human. I'm just a gal. Let's have a chat. Let's just have a chat, see where you're at, and see how we can work together.
I love that. And I love everything you've had to share today. Do you have any final words for salon owners who are struggling with their team and leadership right now?
This is going to sound so cliche because I feel like this is what everyone would say, but
just hang in there.
No, don't just hang in there. That's it. Take the actual steps to get somebody to start to implement the things that you have no idea. You can keep going on and going on and going on, and you'll keep hitting the same mark from a financial perspective every single month. Actually reach out and get that person that is really experienced in the areas that you're not so experienced in. And if you think you're doing really well, but it's still not changing from a financial perspective, just go and reach out to someone because you'll just keep ticking along and then you'll never grow.
Very valid advice.
It's all just so straightforward, isn't it? You can either keep sitting in the spot that you're sitting in or you make the change that you've got to make so you can get to the next stage.
Every level, there's another devil.
Oh, stop it. That's too good. Love it. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast, Sammy. I really appreciate it.
It's been amazing having you. Thank you for tuning into this episode. If you've enjoyed it and found value in it, can you please take the time to take a screenshot, share it to your story and tag both Elli and myself, letting us know what your biggest key takeaway is. Beauty Industry Leaders Podcast has got some epic guests lined up and I'm really excited to continue bringing you the best of the best. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel and tuning in to the weekly episodes dropping on Monday. I will catch you next week for another episode. Other than that, have a great week and I will catch you later. Bye.
Audience exclusive.